So this spreadsheet that we use uses the old Google Analytics UA. We are sure that Ahrefs, the company that created the original spreadsheet, we've modified it, but like the original one, I'm sure they're working on a new one for Google Analytics for. But for the time being, we're going to be using the UA to get started with it. And you do need some historical data, meaning like a year's worth of organic searches. Candice, you should be good for that. Page has definitely lots of data to work with. And you as well, Kaya, with that journaling one. I'm confident that you'll have some historical data that you guys could use. You'll just need to get access to it. But we'll be covering how to go into that. And so is there any preliminary questions before I jump into it? Okay. All right. With all that being said, what I'm going to do is share my screen. Okay. So I'm going to also pop this guy in the chat for you guys. So I'm going to explain what's on this home screen because it actually does a pretty good job at explaining exactly what it is that we want to be doing with this spreadsheet. The idea of the content audit is it's fairly straightforward, especially when you see the final product. It's basically pages that there used to be with Google that they liked lots of pages and they're all individually targeted for their page. But now Google's crawl budget, meaning how much time they can physically crawl a website, is going down as more websites come online. So what they do is they actually like it to be one longer, consolidating all that content into one longer post. And so what you were doing here is we're figuring out which blog posts or which content hasn't got enough organic traffic to warrant its existence, or that we should delete or redirect. And then also if there's any backlinks that go to those pages, we definitely want to do a redirect because we want to maintain that link juice, but without breaking anything. And so what they're doing here is they look at conditions. Minimum, there's one backlink going to the page, fairly straightforward for that. And then meaningful organic content. They're looking for 365 visits in the last year, I believe is how they did. It's a year and fairly straightforward. And then I've also added some special conditional formatting so that if it is a 3-1 redirect, if they'll give you also 4 different types of actions here. So either we're going to delete it, right? Like it has no traffic, no backlinks. You might as well just delete it because Google will just be like, oh, okay, there's a lot less bloat on this website. You can also get the 301 redirect or update it. That's one that goes with like content consolidation that I was talking about, where you're like, oh, we've got all these blog posts that kind of cover this topic in different ways. Let's just make it into one big long page that covers all this topic in this way. And then we just put 301 redirects from all those old posts that go to this one. And we'll also cover in our advanced SEO how we do the bad redirections and stuff like that. I'll show you in a plugin. It's much more straightforward. It just can be a bit intimidating the first time you go to set it up. How did I jump to that one? Anyway, and the last 2 are going to be 200, so fairly straightforward. They have good organic traffic that's basically the metric that they're using. And then manually reviewed is where it's on the edge. And so you might have it where, oh, maybe I do want to keep this. And I kind of count that as the same as a 301 redirect, where you have to make it to this. Most likely, can I consolidate this into a much more straightforward, longer form post? And so what we're doing here is obviously we want to make a copy of this one. You guys will have a link that'll instantly make it into one where you got to make the copy. In my case, I'm going to just going to quickly put it in the correct spot so that it doesn't get lost in the sands of time. And yeah, we're just going to put it here. That's fine. We're going to make a copy. And then from that, there's going to be also one thing that's going to be extremely important that you have to do. And I cannot underline this enough. You have to do special paste. And the reason is because there's a bunch of macros that are actually on the page. So if you just like straight copy and paste, you will delete it. And then this sheet won't work. All you have to do is get a copy. So that's why we always have one that says make a copy, so that we always have an original and then we don't have to stress about it. But yeah, you take it from me, a person who's blown this up several times. When I first started learning how to use this spreadsheet, you can blow it up and you'll have to either you can go up here and then open up the original version of it. So if you click here, This is like how we talked about with Tag Manager, version control, where you can see different edits of this. This one's not necessarily the best, but you'll see as there's more edits that happen over time that you can get different versions, and then you can go back to this one and then say restore to this state. So if you do anything wrong, all this is super reversible. It's just if you're wondering why all of a sudden it doesn't work, that's the reason why. And it took me a lot of headache to figure that out.
So what do you have to do special pasting?
So the hotkey is like the key command is identical to paste, except you're hitting shift as well. So it's shift control command V. So if you hit that extra shift, all it does is paste the numbers, but none of the extra formatting, none of the extra special stuff that goes with it. It's just, I want these numbers or this bit of text put in, no extra metadata, anything else. I just want that text.
Okay.
So in this context, like when we're going to get started with the sitemap. Basically, what this page is about is getting a list of all the URL. It's the starting off point of I want all the URLs so that we can figure out the traffic against those URLs. So what we do is you can do this if you have Screaming Frog still open. I'm doing it this way just because it's going to be a little bit easier. I'm going to do it straight from Screaming Frog. How many URLs? Oh, it's only 700. Oh, that's good. So in this case, I'm going to copy all of them. These addresses is the same as URLs. And we know that I've only got a text HTML. So we know that these are actual pages. So we're going to hit copy. And then we're going to go over here. Other way that you can do this is if you right click on the spot and then you have paste, but you also have paste special. And in this case, I want values only. You can do formatting, and that would be like, say there's a special formatting you want done over it, then you could just do that and it doesn't disrupt the values that are in the cell. We're going to do this. Okay, so now we have all the sitemaps. So now we've got the URLs. The next phase is going to be doing the Google Analytics historical data. So to get this one, we go over to analytics.google.com, and you're going to want to go into your UA Analytics. And then you're going to want to go to, in our case, we set up like a master view where we exclude all the historical data. And then that's going to bring us to here. And then from there, we're going to go to behavior, because in the behavior tab is going to have pages and events. And in this case, we want to have site content. So that's going to tell us all the pages. And from here, what we want to, and then from on this page, there's a couple of things you want to do to this before we start exporting anything. So the first thing is you want to make sure that these show rows at the very bottom, you want to have that set to the maximum amount, because if you just export it with only the 10 rows, that's all you're going to get. And that's not going to be very useful. One other thing that I do for this is that there can be, this is wrong. Account, is it the college? Yeah, that's right. This. Okay, sorry about that. Also, I think I've mentioned this. If you are in the same spot and you switch to a different Google Analytics account, it'll just move you to the exact same spot, but just change it to whatever that account is. So a little fun pro tip that you don't have to dig around. Okay, not seeing many of them. Oh, there's a couple. Okay, so what we want to do, the other thing, because it will pollute the data, is anything with a question mark that's here. See if I can zoom in. So you see this row 61 has the question mark GF underscore protect underscore submission equals 1. We don't want that information because it can be messy, especially if you guys run any Google ads or Facebook ads. You'll see a thing called Facebook CLID or GCLID in there. And that's just a waste. It's a unique identifier based on the ad. So that means that later on, Facebook and Google can say, oh, we know it's this person because they have this ID tag that we put on them as part of the ads. And then that went to the place where the conversion was. So we know it was this person and we know it's a success. That's how they tie those things together. But we don't want them for analyzing the pages. So the best way to get rid of that is you scroll back up to where there's a search bar, and we're going to click advanced. And we are going to, in the dropdown, we're going to switch to exclude a page that contains question mark. So this way, when we apply it, survey said, yeah, so that one that used to be here at 61 has now been excluded. So the data is a lot clearer. The next thing we're going to do is extend this one to last year. So I'm going to do June 22nd, and you hit apply. And all right, so now we've got a year's worth of data. So now the other thing we want to do is we want to add a segment that is only organic traffic. So up here, you can add segments. You can even make your own if there's something super specific you want to track. Most times it's going to be fairly straightforward that you're going to want to use either paid or organic traffic. And you could see that it is medium is anything that has the medium of organic. So, DuckDuckGo, Bing, Google, there's a bunch of Shia. Never actually had to say it out loud before, but yeah, like any search engine, they would be able to do that. And then for the paid, basically what they do is they wrote a really fancy regex, which is an acronym for regular expressions. And they just did every different version. If it's CPC, PPC, any of those, if it has that as the medium, then it counts as paid. So in our case, we're going to hit add the segment, organic traffic. We're going to hit apply, and you'll see, hopefully it doesn't, okay. You'll see that there's the difference. Now, what do you do? It's very unhappy with sharing the screen like this, but you can see that we can see all users and then compare it to organic traffic. So 62% of traffic is still Google organic, which is really good. And so that's definitely one. You can start to see that there's some differences there, and bounce rates and exits. Usually your organic bounce rate is going to be lower because those are people that Googled for your service or your product and been like, oh, I am looking for this, versus disrupting them with an ad. So now what we're going to do is we're going to export this guy. And so you go up here, exports, and we want a CSV, because of course we're going to import that CSV into the content audit. All right. And now we're back here. We're on the GA tab, and then we're going to go to File, Import, Upload, select from my computer, and we got this one because it was today a minute ago. So that stands to reason is the one we are looking for. It's going to do some thinking. And again, we want to make sure that we append to current sheet. And then when we do that, we're going to import our data. All right, and just so we can test it. All right, we can already see by going to the master, we've already got all the URLs. We've got the page views, the organic sessions, and we're already getting some feedback on how many of them that we want to redirect. Of course, we've got the last section here, which links is the backlinks. And now the big thing about this is that there are two ways. Obviously, this was made by Ahrefs, so they have their own fancy way of doing it. And they have, you can get really quality, detailed information about backlinks. But they also offer you a way to do it inside of using Search Console. And so what we're going to do is obviously the Search Console way, because you don't need it per se. So in the Search Console, you're on the account. You've already verified. You go down the menu on the left-hand side and you go to links. And then you go to external links and you go top linked pages. It's already telling you how many. And then we're going to click more. And then from here, again, don't forget, extend it out as far as it will go, just in case. And then click export. And again, we're going to download the CSV. Then with that, you can see it's been downloaded. We're going to head back over to our handy. And again, we're going to import. With the import, we're going to upload. In this case, I'm actually just going to paste it. And again, super important, append, import data. Boom. So now we have officially completed all the sections to the content audit. So let's see what we found. So there's definitely some pages that are job listings that historically didn't get many views. Not unsurprising per se. So a lot of the pages, honestly, they're still getting tons of traffic. So that's really good to see. You do have some like this blog post that are part of a redirect because they do have 2 backlinks. Your About Us is doing well as well with backlinks. So that's really nice to see. Generally though, the other thing is that you can see in this summary column, I created this where it does a count for you because I found that it was annoying that it didn't do the count for you. So we know we have 613 URLs that probably can either be consolidated or deleted, 60 of them that could be updated, 73 that could be left alone, which is pretty good. Honestly, it may not seem like much, but a website that's been around as long as yours is, and I'm sure had lots of growth and lots of periods of time of getting lots of traffic and all that. And so that's still pretty good. So yeah, with this information, we now can start to tally. And you can also, what I do is generally,
Can I ask a quick question?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So I still don't have access to the Google Analytics. So I did the first 2 steps, but I skipped the Google Analytics. Does this have to be sequential, or when I paste in the Google Analytics export, will the master update properly?
Great question. It doesn't matter for this part. Like I can actually, I was going to delete it, but it probably would break it if I did that. But yes, it won't matter the sequential. They don't all require them each other, but all you're doing right now is I just go through this sequence, but it doesn't have to be done in the sequence in order for it to work.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And so what I like to do from here, I forget if this is how last time I did it. So adding a filter, forget if this will, I don't think this will break everything, but you never know. Oh, get rid of the blanks, manual review. Okay. That did work. Okay, awesome. So now you can also, so what I did there is you hover over all these tabs. And then what I did is go up to data. And then in this case, that says remove the filter, but in your case, when you first do this, it'll say add a filter. And then when you click on any of these tabs, you get options here that's showing you all the values. And in this case, because there's so few, I could just easily check off where it says blank or 200s. And so this way you can easily get a list of URLs to get started with, these are the pages I need to focus on. They got like 0 traffic, because we can also add one here that where say you wanted to filter by condition where the number is less than 1. Less than 1. There we go. So now we can see all the pages that have had no traffic, no page views. And so we can start to gather these as a big long list and then, and a big list. And then you can start to either delete them or look at ways you can consolidate them together. But yeah, is there any questions? I know this could be a fair bit to how to, now that you have the information, like what's the next steps with it? It can be a little complicated, but this is what the first step is, just to figure out which pages are getting no traffic. And then also which pages have backlinks, because you want to maintain those, because we have accidentally deleted blog posts that were our top ranking blog posts and didn't bother checking Google Analytics. So you definitely want to check that first.
I have a question. I don't have paid Screaming Frogs, so my information is limited. Because you've done this already using our stuff, would you be able to share it with me?
The paid, honestly, there is no difference with the paid tier for that part at all. So if you have the
500 URLs and you
the 500 URLs, it should only be, what they mean is 500 scans. And because what some people do is they automate it so that they get a monthly report from Screaming Frog. And so people will just get Screaming Frog to scan again and again. You should be good for the URL. I haven't run into that limit when we did the free tier, albeit. Yeah, so it's a little bit of a misnomer the way they framed it. Yeah. So you should be good to go. I'll share it with you all the same, just because it's done and you guys can work in with it.
Awesome, exactly.
Yeah, and so the big one, yeah, so that's the screen. All of this is all done off of the free tiers of all these platforms because it made more sense. For there's no point in buying a bunch of the tools. And again, especially if you guys, any of you are local service-based businesses, I definitely don't recommend almost any of there's no SEO tool I would really recommend except for White Spark for local SEO, but that's pretty advanced stuff. And the only reason why I recommend them is because they're Canadian, and so they don't forget the actual Canadian service market about stuff like that.